Hello and welcome to the Shortcomings and Wishlist video for the Smart Stormwater / Smart City System 1.0. My name is Ricardo. I was one of the engineers that helped make this application from the ground up, and I'm just going to go over some things that we couldn't really get going, while at the same time we also wish we could have implemented, but there was just no time. So just going to sign in here since it's about the application itself. And we're going to go over the shortcomings, which first and foremost, the most important one is that since our main objective was just to get this application running with some functionality, we mainly worked on a development server throughout the process, which is what's running right now, which can be kind of iffy. So instead of working on an actual server that runs this, it is the development server all the time. And we tried a few things with looking into what's known as mod WSGI, which is something that helps, I believe, Django applications be able to launch in a server. But that couldn't get going because something about Windows, it doesn't let it work. It just ended up not working out. And then we tried going on to Python Anywhere, which is kind of a website that runs Python code in the cloud, and it runs Django applications. So ideally this would be good, but configuring it and trying to upload our files just wasn't meshing well, and so overall we couldn't get it running. We believe that the Python Anywhere could probably make our application run, but we couldn't get it going between me and my partner. So that's one of the biggest shortcomings, that we don't have really a server that you can just connect from anywhere at all. Another thing is that this application focuses on talking to devices and getting information from them, what they read from the sensors, among other things. But in order to communicate with it, we had to use a device API from another third-party vendor, because SOP Technologies, which is the company that put this project into FIU, they're working with another person that uses these devices, so we have to use the API to connect the devices instead of just talking to the devices directly between our application and their devices. And so that has its own shortcomings, knowing what the fill levels are at all times. Real-time data is hard to get without having our application constantly running, which is another problem with the whole no server thing. Without it constantly being running, it could check periodically, but as it is right now, it's not doing so, so that's holding it back. If you've seen the other videos of the guides going through this application, you could have seen that the application and how it looks is just kind of lackluster. It's very simple. There's a chart, there's tables, there's buttons, we tried formatting it as best as we could to make it appealing to a certain degree, like having it sectioned off pretty nice, like how this table's half, the other one's half. Make it even, nicely spaced. We did as much as we could, but we still believe that there's a lot more that can be improved in terms of the look and feel of the application. And it is the first time that both me and my partner do front-end work, so we don't have a lot of experience in how it all basically looks to begin with, but we believe we did as good a job as we could. And finally, the last shortcoming that we want to talk about is adding a new email to the email list. It's not very intuitive, and this was one of the last things that we had to deal with, which is near the end of the semester where things started to wrap up. And so we got it to this point, but we definitely believe it could be a lot better, because essentially to add a new email, so you write the new email here, new email at test.com, and the way you save it, you gotta click save. It doesn't show up immediately. The only way to see it is you have to get out of the page and come back in, and then you'll see new email listed there. And if you want to delete it, same thing, check, save. You have to get out of the page, come back in, and then you'll see it gone. But it should be a lot more fluidity than that. Like maybe there should be a button instead of check mark, a button here to say add and dynamically add it without having to reload the page. That's definitely something that could be improved. Now for wish lists, things that we wish we could have implemented, but there's just no time due to it being a 4-month project. And we built this from the ground up, so all these different pages and components, we made it ourselves. And obviously for the wish list to start off, we want to fix all the shortcomings, of course, add server, possibly have communication with the devices. This isn't really our part, since it's the third-party vendor that has control over the devices, so that's kind of hard to deal with. Change the front end, make it look a little bit more dynamic and more appealing, and changing the email list. For this overview page, though, looking back on it, we could definitely improve it. For example, this chart. This chart shows you the fill level for a device that you select. So if we select this device, over a period of time, it tells you how full its bin got, and then when it was collected, and then it goes back up. But you also use these checkboxes to do actions, like update GPS and the sensing interval. So if you want to do multiple devices, this chart's always going to change because it looks like at the last one that got checked. And so it's better to separate these two components, where having select be for the actions, and maybe have a drop down here that you select the device that you want to know. That way it's not as confusing, because I could just imagine somebody just clicking multiple devices, let's say 10, and then the fill level keeps changing, and it could be confusing starting off on this application for the first time. And another thing for the wish list, there are definitely more actions that the device API allows for, besides just updating GPS and the sensing interval. So you could definitely be adding more actions to this to increase the functionality of the site, and at least for the overview dashboard page. Now moving on to the users and devices page. One thing's worth noting that for the users list, these are all the users you create, user and admin that you create. So as an admin, you're able to add a user, you fill up all this information, and once you return back, it'll be added to the users list. So let's say we added this demo user, right? We just made it and we see it here. Now this demo user is also an admin. They also have the ability to add users. So if demo user creates another user, let's say demo's first sub-user, we are not able to see the sub-user. We only see our immediate sub-users. I only see the people I create. If the people that I created create other people, I don't see those other people. In other words, think of it like grandparents, parents, and children. Grandparents can see the parents, but not the children. That's kind of like the dynamic of how it works. And changing that to be able to see perhaps maybe a tree or some sort of diagram to see just how far down the level goes will definitely be more flexibility and usability to this part of the application. And of course, they can also be able to modify and delete those children as well, or however far down it goes. And so now next for the C device assignments. When we weren't able to make this work in terms of how it looks, but if you click a device and I want to unassign a device from second sub-user, and I click unassign, it will unassign the person. So it'll say assignments deleted, but once I press OK, it turns into the triple dots indicating that they've been deleted, which in the back end they were, but here visually it's still kind of there until you click out and then come back in and you don't see them there anymore. At that point, you can see that they're changed, but at the time of the unassignment, it definitely did not see it that way. And that could probably be something that could be changed as well. For the notifications page, this is one of the problems with the development server. Sometimes it ends up crashing for unexpected reasons, at least for me. For the notifications page, it would be probably more beneficial to have a drop-down of sort that can filter based on notification types, or maybe of a certain date, maybe go back a week, something along those lines, and just make it a lot more versatile instead of having to scroll down and just kind of hope to see a notification that you might be thinking of, or filter of via device identifier. Any of these types can be definitely beneficial in terms of filtering. For notification settings, we definitely want to keep increasing the notification types, because right now we only have 4, but there's definitely a lot more that we can do. Like for example, when we went to the notifications page, there's turned on. Yet right here in the notification settings, that is nowhere to be seen, right? So we could add that in. Maybe we don't really care about when we want to turn it on, so we could uncheck it. But we can certainly just keep increasing the amount of notifications that way. And finally, one of the things that we thought about early on, but we didn't want to implement because neither of us knew how to do, is the ability to send text messages for the notification types. Because here we have a website and email notification, but there could be a third option for text messages. Maybe you want to know as soon as possible on your phone when it passes the yellow to red threshold. That can be definitely important for the waste companies that go and collect all the trash that have been stored up, only to to install it back in fresh. And with that covers the shortcomings and wish list. Of course, as more development goes on, there's more things that could be added, maybe more things that can be changed. But for now, that's definitely the main concepts that we've thought of, and that could definitely benefit the application if it is implemented. So thank you guys. Thank you for watching. I appreciate any comments down in the comment section. Likes, dislikes, anything helps, and hope you enjoy this presentation.